White belts. This past weekend, UFC on ESPN, Francis Ngannou defeated Cain Velasquez by knockout. So now he's calling his shot against the champion, Daniel Cormier. Does he deserve that shot?
You could say he deserves the shot, Raj, and frankly, I wouldn't be mad if he got the shot, but DC's already at the end of his career.
Yep.
Ngannou, I mean, it was an impressive performance because it was a TKO, but I mean, those of you that watched the fight, was there even a fight that happened there?
No.
So I don't know if I want to see Ngannou go up against a DC that I know is going to be able to beat him at this point. I think I'd probably rather see a different matchup. As far as what matchup, I don't really know.
Yeah.
But something else.
Listen,
something else.
that was a borderline victory. I don't consider it a real victory.
Yeah.
Cain did blow at his knee, and if you do watch the fight, Francis was throwing some haymakers, but none of them really landed. You could argue that maybe one of them hit his equilibrium and got him off balance.
A little bit.
But it doesn't matter. I don't think that was a real fight, and we never saw the real Cain in that fight. That being said, you don't earn the shot. That being said, Miocic doesn't earn the shot.
Oh.
No one's earning a shot at Daniel Cormier. So I think what you got to do is get those two to battle it out for that number one contender spot.
Yeah.
Miocic versus Francis
and
they fought before.
Raj, I'm not mad at that call, right? Because the one thing that's been pissing me off about Stipe Miocic is we know, that you lost to Daniel Cormier, and we know that you deserve a rematch. Short of deserving the rematch, maybe you can show why you deserve the rematch.
Yes.
Because if you cry once, okay, I hear you. You cry twice. After a while, I can't even hear you cry anymore. It's just a bunch of whining. I deserve the title shot. And the whole time Miocic has been whining, and Ngannou's been sitting there like, yo, send the next one. You know what I mean? I'll knock him out. No
Beating
problem.
Curtis Blades was a big win.
Huge.
Especially because that was a rematch too, and he won before, so it's tough to get motivated when you've already beaten the guy. But he came out, finished him in the first round. Vicente Luque. Now this guy fought this past weekend, and it was a fight of the night performance against Brian Barberina, a tough opponent. 8-1 in his last 9 fights at welterweight in the UFC. I'm high on him, as you can probably tell from my emotional level right now. Are you high on this guy? Did you even watch the fight?
Raj, I didn't watch the fight, okay? Because for me, I'm a busy dude. Yeah, you guys that know me know that Q is a busy dude.
Yeah.
So when it comes to like using my time and devoting it to fights, am I gonna give my time to Vicente Luque, a fighter that what's his record in the last?
Soon to be contender. 8-1.
8-1 in his last 9 fights. That's what Raj is saying. Listen, I watched the guy fight. That's a great record.
Yes.
Eye test wise, I look at him and I'm like, this guy is never going to be a true contender at 170 pounds.
Right.
The likes of Tyron Woodley.
Yes.
The likes of Colby Covington.
Yes.
He's not on that level, not even close. Darren Till, are we kidding?
Yeah.
So for me, yes, shout out Luque. Is it Luque?
Luque. Stop calling him Luke.
Shout out Luque for everything that he's done and his achievements. You know, it's impressive. Doesn't impress me.
Listen, of those 8 victories, 8 of those were finishes. So he is a finisher. He just beat Brian Barberina, who's known to be a super tough guy, never been knocked out. And what happened to him? He got knocked out with 10 seconds left in the 3rd round. So Luque's got the gas tank. He's getting better, still a young fighter, 27 years old. Been in the UFC a while, hitting his stride. He's beaten guys like Hector Urbina, which you probably don't really know. He's beaten Chad Laprise, Nico Price, Bilal Muhammad. I mean, these are some names, really.
They're fighters is what they are.
They're fighters.
They're fighters.
And Jalen Turner, too, who had an impressive victory 2 weeks ago. Just ride with this guy. I would have put him on a Rogers radar, but I already think he's here. I personally don't think he's up and coming. I think he's here. I think he'll get a top 10, top 15 fight next, and then that'll be his coming out party.
He seems like a sweet guy. Listen, I hope he does well, and I hope he ascends to the top.
Yes.
But you asked me for the eye test, and I tell you, this is a fighter that is just not going to be a contender anytime soon. That's just how I'm feeling about it.
Disagree.
This past weekend, the fight that captured all of us MMA fans' imagination was that super fight between Paul Daley and Michael Venom Page. Now, for those of you guys that actually watched that fight, it was a little bit lackluster, right? We saw a fight that wasn't as excited as we kind of anticipated that it might be. And frankly, we also learned that MVP's ground game, not where it should be. Raj, are you feeling like MVP is a little bit overrated in this MMA game?
Listen, that fight, that was a sleeper fight, right? Because not many people knew about that fight.
Sleeper is right.
Exactly. It was also a sleeper because that fight was pathetic.
Yeah.
And I like both these fighters, and both these fighters have great highlight reels. But man, was that bad. I mean, the moral of the story here was 5-round fight. First round, actually, there was nothing. I think maybe MVP landed one jab more than Daley.
Daley threw nothing, I think, in that first round at all.
So he won that round 10-9, even though I think we can both say that was probably a draw of a round. The next 2 rounds saw Daley just taking down Michael Venom Page with ease, too, laying on him and grinding the round out like that. And then the 4th and 5th round saw Michael Venom Page, dancing a little bit more and doing his thing, avoiding the takedown. Long story short, he got a 48-47 victory. Your question, is he overrated?
Is he overrated?
I'd have to go yes. I'd have to go yes. You know why? Because I think people thought he's a better mixed martial artist, including myself, than he actually is. He's an absolute amazing stand-up artist, but he's not a mixed martial artist. And I think now in this tournament, he's going to have to see Douglas Lima next. And I don't know if I have him winning that. You got him winning that?
I've never even seen Paul Daley wrestle, right? I've never even seen Paul Daley wrestle. So for Paul Daley to be diving from across the octagon, grabbing MVP's ankles and managing to kind of take him to the ground and hold him down, that was pathetic. What was the question that you just asked me?
Well, now he's facing Douglas Lima next, right?
For the welterweight tournament, right? For the $1 million. That's the whole point of these fights or whatever. That's a bad matchup for MVP, and this is a fighter that's undefeated. So he still kind of has that mystique around it, but you're starting to see that if this guy, I don't know what he can do to get past Lima. Lima's a bad boy, and he's going to grab him and just get on the ground, and I think it's probably over as far as
any fighter that can get double underhooks on MVP. They got him down. They got him down, and now you can grind out the round pretty easily. And Paul Daley was landing some serious shots when he wanted to, when he felt like fighting, when MVP's back was on the ground. So I'm worried about his ground game. His stand-up games never look better. I think he can showcase that against any other fighter, but Paul Daley had a good strategy in place to not get knocked out.
And that's the one thing I got to give shout-outs to Paul Daley on that, too. Like, as much as we say the fight wasn't exciting, well, Paul Daley finally used his brain and said to himself, geez, I don't want to stand and trade with MVP, which would be a nightmare situation. Let me at least try to mix this up, take it to the ground, and show some holes in MVP's game, which he did successfully. So shout out Paul Daley for that. I was still bored, though. I mean, that's just frankly what it was.
Me too. The Gracies are back. Son of Rickson Gracie, Kron Gracie, fought this past weekend at the UFC against Bruce Leroy, Alex Caceres, who's a vet in the UFC, probably about 20 fights, you know? And he made it look easy, Kron did. He finished him in the first round, took him down, showed what Gracie Jiu-Jitsu is all about. Can that style still be relevant in today's MMA?
You know, before I answer that question, Raj, what I'm going to say is I have the utmost respect for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioners.
Yes.
You and I took BJJ for a couple months. And we learned just how hard that sport is, that discipline is. It takes a long time to get good at it. Back to your question. Was I impressed with Kron Gracie's performance? No. Was that the question?
That certainly wasn't the question. The question was, is Gracie Jiu-Jitsu still relevant? Or can it be relevant?
Anyone that watches MMA right now knows how quickly the sport is evolving. And I think that's why we're all so enthusiastic about the sport. If you're a one-trick pony in today's MMA, you can be a black belt and be sick at Jiu-Jitsu. But if you're a one-trick pony in today's MMA, it's only a matter of time before someone exposes you. And for that reason, I find it hard to even get excited. I mean, there was a time where you hear Gracie, you're like, oh my God, these are the founders of MMA. I hear Gracie now, I'm like, these guys just don't get it. They're not evolving the way the sport... I mean, I don't mean to be disrespectful. Obviously, we know that these guys are legends, but they're not evolving with the sport and kind of adding to their jiu-jitsu in a way that's meaningful. It's almost like jiu-jitsu's done, this is what we do, and there's no evolution. That shit bothers me a little bit.
Yeah, they are very stubborn for some reason, eh? All the Gracies and all the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu black belts as well, including Nate and Nick Diaz, who we're huge fans of, who Nate was actually in Kron's corner during that fight too, so they're boys, but they're so stubborn about evolving and bringing in wrestling into their game. The UFC's first time in Czech Republic, this upcoming weekend, goes down, a regional show. So the main event here is Thiago Santos, who you know very well. We talk about him a lot, the sledgehammer, versus Jan Blachowitz. Another guy I feel like we talk about way too much.
His name seems to come up, pretty frequently on this show.
He's a frequent fighter. He fought twice last year as well, and he's on a 4-fight winning streak. So this is a sleeper #1 contender fight in the light heavyweight division, is it not?
I think it has to be, right? Because Blachowicz is sitting right around number 4, I think, in that weight class as far as his ranking. And as much as I kind of sleep on him, frankly, I do. He has wins over the likes of like Nikita Krylov,
Yes.
who I like a lot.
Jimmy Manuwa was a big win.
Jimmy Manuwa, he has a big win over him as well. And I think he's on a 4-fight winning streak overall.
Yeah.
So you do the facts. You know what I mean? I'm just kind of saying.
Listen, Jared Cannonier he beat as well, and I think Jared Cannonier is a decent fighter too.
Especially after his last fight there.
Yeah, he's just not flashy, and I think sometimes people they want to see the flash rather than the effectiveness.
Yeah.
But this guy gives you solely effectiveness.
Well, I'll tell you who gives you flash. Santos.
Yes.
Santos comes in there, and no matter what, you know that you're going to get a show because he's just going to... It seems like he fights in a way that he's just trying to entertain the fans, more so than like, I have an intelligent game plan and this is the best way to beat him.
Right.
He's like, I'm just going to kind of slug it out and give the fans something that they want to see. And frankly, I'm all about it. Every time I watch Santos fight, I'm more and more of a fan.
Yeah.
So
Listen, he did that last time he was here in Toronto when he faced Jimmy Manuwa.
Yeah.
That fight was ridiculous and going back and forth. And it seemed like Santos had opportunities in that fight if he just slowed the pace down a little. But he was like, nah, F that. I'm just going to go hard. And if I get knocked out, I get knocked out. So definitely fan-friendly style. And now you got a decent main event.
You have a decent main event. To further answer your first question, though, I mean, this is a sleeper #1 contender fight. That light heavyweight division, I mean, we have John Jones sitting at the top. Like him or love him, whatever the case might be.
Yep.
He's all the way up here, and then we have all these little guys. Anthony Lionheart-Smith, what are the odds in that fight, Raj?
12-1 for John Jones to
for
win.
the #1 contender in that weight class.
Yeah.
So you can tell if you're not at the Anthony Lionheart-Smith level.
Yeah.
I mean, what are we even doing this #1 contender matchup for?
Yeah,
it's like, where are we going with it?
Like, yeah, seriously, anyone that wins, if they were matched up with the GOAT, John Jones, what are those going to be? What are those odds going to be? Especially with Blachowitz, you got a guy that lost to Patrick Cummins. Shout out Patrick Cummins, but I feel
Canadian
like he's the pinnacle. If you lose to him, I'm sorry, man. That you're not going to be on my radar. I'll tell you that.
Tough. It's going to be tough to be on Raj's radar with losses like that.
Yeah, so it's a good fight. Is it the #1 contender for me? No. You need to win 2 more fights after this because you really need to deserve the shot of the light heavyweight champ.
Okay, I'll go with that. I mean, I don't even know who else they would fight after after they beat each other or fight each other. Like, who's even next for me to be able to say, okay, now they're ready to John Jones. Like, I don't think we're going to get there, but hey.
Q, a fight I'm super excited about because this guy was on Raj's radar and he's fighting this upcoming weekend in Czech Republic.
Okay.
Peter Yan.
Okay, that's your guy.
That's my guy. I'm running with Peter Yan, and he finally has an opponent that has name recognition. The magician, John Dodson.
Yes.
I'll tell you why you need to be excited for this fight.
Please explain to me why I need to be excited.
Peter Yan is 3-0 in the UFC.
Okay.
This could potentially be his coming out party. The odds came out, and he's a 3-1 favorite to beat John Dodson, who's a former title challenger, maybe even a 2-time title challenger. But that shows you what the people are actually thinking of Peter Yan. So if Dodson can dethrone Yan, Dodson's back at the top.
Yeah.
But if Peter Yan comes out and shows him, well, now we got a new star on our hands.
And because because you're my buddy, I hope it works out for you in terms of the Peter Yan win. Because that'd make you happy.
I'd like that.
When you're happy, I'm happy.
Thank you.
So, I hope that works out for you. But I think on the whole, what is happening with John Dodson, he's had some close losses.
Yes.
He's lost to DJ twice back in the day.
Yes.
Okay, Raj. More recently, he lost to Jimmy Rivera.
That's not a bad loss.
Decision victory. Jimmy's very, very good.
Jimmy's good.
Marlon Moraes.
Yeah, Marlon, #1 contender.
He lost to him as well. Split decision.
Yes.
So
that was a split.
Wow.
Okay.
Raj, let's stop the pretending.
Yeah.
Right? Let's stop pretending that John Dodson is not one of the elite fighters in that bantamweight division because he definitely is. I think Peter Yan is a stiff touch for him, and I'm really excited to see that matchup just on the skill level.
Yeah.
But if you're asking me who I think is better off in that matchup, it should be Dodson. It should have always been Dodson. Dodson is still potentially a title contender and potentially even the champion in that weight class. That's just facts.
Listen, I can't argue with anything you said there. And yeah, losing to Jimmy Rivera, Marlon Moraes, I mean, everybody loses to them. That's not a tough loss.
They're tough.
They are tough. What I struggle with Dodson on is what weight class is he? You know, I think personally he's a 125er that had to move up to 135 because he lost to DJ twice and had no choice. But he was the clear second best 125er in the world at one time.
He was.
So it is a little frustrating for him to have to move up to a weight class that he's not comfortable with when you're the second best in the entire world. That being said, he's now in this bantamweight weight class, a weight class I believe is not for him. I believe it is for bigger fighters, taller fighters, rangier fighters. Bring in Peter Yan. Fighters that have that gas tank and push the pace just like Dodson can, but maybe have a little more technique than Dodson and can show him some things that he's probably never seen back down at that flyweight division.
Well, you're excited.
I'm excited. I think it's a good fight. Even if Dodson wins, and it shows you where Dodson's level at, so it's good for Dodson, I think, at least for the hardcores. But on the other hand, if Peter can get the job done, then that really catapults his career. So it's going down. It's, I think, the second fight on the main card. But it honestly is probably one of the most attractive fights on that card because that regional show sucks.
Woo! They're not helping us out on that one. No, they're not. No, they are not. So yeah, I'll probably watch that fight. Main event. Yeah. Jan Blachowitz. I'll tune back in for that. But a lot of those fights, I'm gonna be up, getting some popcorn, chilling.
You know what time it is? Another installment of Raj's Radar. My guy today, Magomed. What is his name? I was gonna say Magomed Sharapov. My guy today, who's fighting this upcoming weekend in the Czech Republic, 26-year-old Dagestani fighter, Magomed Ankalaev. Ankalaev only has a 1-1 record in the UFC, but that's a little deceiving. In his first fight against Paul Craig, he was dominating that fight the entire time, but then got caught with 1 second left in a triangle choke and had to tap. His second fight, he knocked out Praknio in the first round. He's a young fighter, he's a Sambo champion, he's talented, and he has all the backings to be a superstar in the division. Now he's fighting this upcoming weekend against a Brazilian newcomer, Klidson Abreu. I expect Ankalaev to get through him pretty quickly, get his record to 2-1 in the UFC, and then really catapult his career. Watch him, enjoy his fight, ride with him, ride with Raj's Radar. Let me know your thoughts. It's better betting with Q and Raj. All right, white belts, time to make you some money on better betting. We'll do a quick recap of last week. Obviously, you know I'm going to want to do that because 3 of my bets came through.
Do your thing.
2 of those were underdog bets in Andre Fili, in
Aljamain.
Aljo. I like Aljo a lot.
Wow.
And then Francis, so maybe 3 underdogs. Francis, by knockout, netted you a plus 225. You
called that one too.
So, however many followers, however many viewers watched it, you're welcome. Now let's talk about this week.
You're feeling confident right now.
Well, you know what?
I feel like you had the success last week, so now you know what you're doing when it comes to...
And even if I lose, I've already made them enough in the kitty that I can take some risks, you know? Because I'm just trying to protect their investment here.
You're a good guy. You always have been.
Main event, Thiago Santos, Jan Blachowicz.
Yep.
Odds came out, surprised me a little bit.
Okay.
Minus 130 for Thiago Santos.
Okay.
Plus 110 Jan Blachowicz. I thought it would have been closer to minus 170, 180 for Thiago.
For Thiago, yeah. I think they're accounting for the fact that Blachowicz is the bigger fighter in that matchup, right? As much as Santos is a big boy, and you're like, how did he ever make 185? In that matchup, I think we'll see that Blachowicz is actually the bigger boy, so maybe they're accounting for that.
And they're fighting in Europe too, so maybe they're accounting for a little bit of that hometown flavor.
You know what you're talking about. You know what you're talking about.
Hometown advantage.
With all that said, when it's that close, especially with the surge that Santos has been on, you go Santos, I think, all day on that one. I mean, that just makes sense to me. That's what I'm going to be doing.
I'm taking Santos in that one as well. Another fight on that card, John Dodson, Peter Yan. Now, we already talked about him earlier in this show, so you know where I'm going with that one.
You know where I'm going with that one, too.
But I gotta be honest, I don't like this betting line at all.
Oh, okay.
I don't like the 3-1 favorite.
What did the line come out as? 3-1.
3-1 for Peter Yan. Literally, I thought that would have been a pick'em because nobody knows Peter Yan. They spell it P-E-T-R. I mean, people are typing it P-E-T-E-R.
Yeah.
So they don't know him. They don't know him at all.
Yeah.
I think you go Dodson there, but I'm not going to bet that one.
Yeah, you're going to sit that one out.
I'm sitting that one out.
You don't want to go against your heart.
Exactly,
that's what you're saying, yeah.
But where are you going?
You know, and again, I always say this, but I'm not putting up the money myself. But if you want to put up some money and make some good money on these, you listen to what Keith says every goddamn time. Dodson is a fighter that could be contender, as I touched on earlier.
Yes.
He could literally be #1 contender, even the champ at that bantamweight division. Even though Raj brought up the fact that he's undersized a little bit for that weight class, okay?
He knocked TJ out, right?
He knocked TJ out. And we'll never let TJ forget the fact that Dodson knocked TJ out. So with all that, you go Dodson, plus 265. What are we even doing?
Yeah, that's easy. That's easy money for you underdog bettors.
Disrespectful
That's easy money.
For my man Dodson. So
I'm with you there.
That's where I'm going.
And the last fight I want to talk about on that card, Rustam Kabalov, Carlos Diego Ferreira.
Yeah.
Betting lines came out. They're almost even. Rustam's a minus 125.
Okay.
Ferreira plus 100.
Okay.
Where are you siding with that one?
I don't know. I mean, these fighters, I know, I recognize the names, Raj. Okay, I'm gonna keep it super real with the white belts right now.
You need to. They
I recognize the Khabibov name. Okay,
yes.
Diego Ferreira. I don't know if I've ever seen him fight.
Yeah.
When I don't know the fighters, I don't bet on the fights. It's that simple because my heart's not in it and my knowledge is not in it. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm gonna defer to you on this one.
Listen, okay, Khabibov fought Cajun Johnson his last fight. Okay. It was a split decision win. In a fight that I think UFC matchmakers did Cajun dirty and wanted him to fight a wrestler. Yeah. And it was a split decision win. Diego Ferreira, on the other hand, has looked like a savage of late. You know, he beat Jared Gordon, knocked him out, beat Kyle Nelson, knocked him out. I'm kind of leaning, maybe it's emotional, but towards Diego Ferreira. I think he's a little bit of an underdog in this fight, and I think you can make some value on him. I expect the line to change a little bit in Rustam's favor the closer we get to the event. So maybe hold off on that bet until it gets to a plus 130, and then jump on it. Throw all your money down. Wow. Mortgage the house, everything.
I don't know if I'm riding with you anymore. I put my trust in you because I didn't know the fighters.
Give me the shirt. Let's mortgage everything.
It seems like you're
And that's better betting with Raj and Raj.
It's Q and Raj.
Oh,
Q and Raj.
Raj and Raj.
Mm-hmm.